So I mentioned in my intro video the other day how much I really enjoy the Master Grade version 2.0 of the RX-78 and all of its variants. And I've built most of them. In fact, I think I've built, aside from like the really rare P Bandai stuff, like the Jim Cannon, I think I've built all of it, and I will probably continue to build all of it if they ever do like a version 2.0 Gundam Alex, or if they carry on doing Jim variants. Like if they did a Jim custom using that frame, oh my god, I'd be so into that. I mean, I am fully in on that frame. I love it. That said, this one's a bit weird. This is an old Mobile Suit Variations model, originally conceived of in the very early 80s, if I remember correctly. And who would have ever thought that this would have seen a resurrection? But, you know, I'm a fan of sniper model mobile suits, and I'm eager to take a... And I'm a fan of sniper model mobile suits, and I'm a fan of the Gundam version 2.0 frame. And this combines both, and this thing is just goofy enough to be kind of awesome. So let's have a look. This is one of the newest Master Grade kits to come out, copyright dated 2017, and in 2017 they finally started featuring a lot more English. All of this color text on the bottom is now actually printed in English. The actual model may vary slightly from the image on the package. The images are for illustrative purposes only, and it's actually that's fairly proper English. I'm so used to broken English on packaging for products from Japan and from Asia, so it's nice to see that they must have actually hired someone who speaks proper English to write that and translate it. But the box art's really nice. You got this whole squad of several of these Jim snipers and a handful of Jim cannons supporting a variety of battleships. You got a couple of Salamis cruisers, and I'm not sure if that's the white base on the bottom or if that's just another Pegasus class assault carrier. But this is a really, really nice box art. On the side, just your standard photos of the assembled model. Kind of shows off how the weaponry can be broken down and shows off what weaponry it does come with. Other side, you got some action pose stuff, how the head and face shield can work. And yeah, all of this is all printed in English as well, instead of just being in Japanese. So it's nice to see they're finally, after all these decades, printing their stuff in English as well. First up for markings, we got our foil stickers, we got our dry transfers, which is actually kind of a surprise to me. I thought Bandai had phased out dry transfers. I don't remember seeing very many of them in a long time in any recent models. And then, of course, your clear self-adhesive stickers. As is usual, the A runner is the system-injected one, so you've got your multiple colors. You got your clear orange molded forehead sensor and faceplate. You got this kind of olive drab for calf armors, shin, chest armors, collar, codpiece, the darker gray for some of the skirt armor stuff, and then the white for the midsection and your pilot figure, who is just in a standard Federation normal suit from the looks of it. Here we got the J runner is directly adapted from the Gundam version 2.0. So leg frames, knees, ankle guards, thrusters for the bottom of the feet, feet frames, articulated pads for the front and rear of the foot, some mechanical jointing here and there, hydraulic cylinders, and hip mechanisms. I really, really like just this layout, that this is just pure leg. Like, you could use just these parts and you'd have 90% of a leg frame just out of this. And it's so easy to adapt. Like, there's no extraneous bits and pieces for different models on this runner. This is just leg. Beam Saber, of course. This is runner SB1, so this is the original style of Beam Saber blade, naturally in the teardrop shape. However, this one is dated 2006, whereas the original SB1 would have been dated around 1996. So this one is a reshoot. They would have retired that mold sometime around this time, 2005, 2006, and replaced it with this one. Now, I can't say for sure if, like, recent reissues of older models that would have had the first version of this runner, if they include the first version of this runner, or if they've replaced it with this. I really don't know, and I'd like to find that out. Some more parts adapted from the Gundam version 2.0. You got your thighs, some foot armor parts, lower leg, and upper arm parts. I'm not sure. I would imagine not all of this is going to get used. I feel like probably this part here and maybe these will not get used. It's probably just like the feet and the upper arms, I would guess. Speaking of Gundam parts that aren't likely to get used, this one is also adapted from the version 2.0, and probably those and maybe those and some bits over here are probably not going to get used. I would guess it's probably the ankle guards, part of the forearms, maybe the kneecaps, maybe very few parts off of this runner I would say are going to get used, because already I've seen like these adapted from, or were already on, these parts were already on the A runner, and I know that the forearms are very, very different. We got some weapon parts, obviously the main shield with the flip down blast shield, standing pilot figure in normal suit, twin beam sabers, which will not get used because this one does not have backpack mounted beam sabers of this style, as well as the main bazooka, which is hollow all the way through. I appreciate that from Bandai, that they use the slide mold style. The two clamshell halves with an insertable piston, basically, that fills in the inside so that the part remains hollow straight through. Or in the case of the beam saber blades, it inserts only a partial distance and opens up the emitter barrels. We got some weapon stuff. This would be the main beam rifle, the beam sniper rifle receiver. Then you've got your twin-barreled beam blaster. I believe the name for the standard weapon that came with the standard GM was the beam spray gun. I would imagine this is probably the double-barreled beam spray gun, as well as an additional receiver part for an extra beam spray gun. I'm guessing this one has a duplicate with some modified parts from the version 2.0 GM. I would guess this is some additional frame parts for the standard beam rifle, the hand grip for something. So it'd be a hand grip, maybe. Maybe this is for this gun here. I'm not really sure. But yeah, just a lot of weapon parts. But yeah, that beam rifle, I'm really eager to get that thing built. It looks really neat. Another runner adapted from the version 2.0. We got all the hand parts, so the separate fingers and thumb, hand armor plates, elbows, wrist collars, shoulder joints, forearms, like the forearm frames with outer sleeves for the mechanisms, the shoulder armors, upper arms, some hydraulic parts. Another new runner of parts. This looks like the lower legs frames for the skirt armors, backpack frames, some waist parts, some skirt armor parts, torso frame components. This would be ankle armor frames. You got your faceplate, the sensor array inside the yellow clear faceplate in the torso. Guessing probably part of the backpack or maybe part of the torso. I'm not really sure. But there's some interesting molding in here. It kind of looks like it might be a winch of some kind, though why it would have a winch built into it is beyond me. I don't think it is a winch. It just kind of looks like it's molded that way. It looks kind of neat. Some torso parts. This is another runner adapted from the version 2.0. So this would be like the upper body, midsection, the chest vents, the neck, waist, lower body, and core fighter docking position, and then all of the linkages for the shoulders. Hard to say how much of this is going to get used. I would say probably none of this and none of this, because this thing doesn't have a core fighter or a core block system that I'm aware of. Though the midsection and the shoulders and possibly the venting assembly, and then the neck, I would say, will probably all be used. That said, most of what's on here probably gets used. You got your frame for the beam spray gun, outer armor parts for the beam spray gun, bazooka parts. This is the old faceplate for the GM version 2.0, and the core block for same, which I doubt gets used, but hard to say. And armor plates for the cockpit door. I'm not really sure if any of that gets used, but all of these weapon parts and possibly the core block end up getting used in this build. We got some thrusters, some leg frame components, I believe these are probably vents or thrusters for the knees, probably backpack. I would guess these are probably where these thrusters mount in the backpack, as well as side skirts. Kneecaps, got some venting in there for, I'm not sure if these would be thrusters or if they're just like coolant venting systems. You got your chest venting, you got the flip down sensor plate for the head, and then the chin part. I'm not sure if the chin part moves, but the forehead definitely does. These are all of the blocks for the ankle guards and probably the knees. So those round cylindrical blocks that attach to the knees and ankles and elbows, and more skirt armor parts. Our lone few poly caps, this is PC202, dated 2008. This would have been originally designed for the version 2. So you got your waist poly cap to attach the legs to the bodies, ankles, wrists, shoulders, and probably backpack mounting point there. We got a runner left over from the GM version 2.0. Got the chest plate, shoulder armors, cockpit, feet parts. None of that's going to get used. None of these bits are going to get used. The feet might, and the armor plate for the shield will. Incidentally, this one does not come with the cross. This one just has the recessed trench. As I mentioned in the Perfect Grade video, that I liked the idea that they had this designed in place so that if you left the cross off, it just had this kind of recessed in detail that looked kind of cool. So yeah, I appreciate that they gave you that option with this particular model. And last but not least, we've got the head armor parts, the forehead sensor, which has a notch for an antenna, beam saber emitter, which mounts to the forearm. You got your front skirts, side skirts, probably the back armor plate, cod pieces, and backpack main armor plate. Some sort of giveaway. I don't read Japanese, so I don't know what it says. Flyer for the Gundam base store in Japan, I believe, which is in Tokyo, Diver City. It says Tokyo Plaza, which I'm pretty sure, oh, it says Tokyo right there, which I'm pretty sure is where the life-sized Gundam unicorn statue is located at the moment. And finally, instructions. This is the third revision style instruction booklet after the Death Scythe switched over to the more minimalistic white. Now they're doing this style with just a straight copy of the box art. Inside is still largely the same, except it shows, in this case, it shows kind of a design lineage, starting with the gun tank, gun cannon, and Gundam, into all the different eras of GMs through to the this version here, and then the GM Sniper Custom, and then the different the GM Cannon and various other types of GM that have existed in the fiction. On the front page, however, now that they're doing printing in English, I can actually read this stuff, so I might. So you got some biohistory on the this particular model, and specs and details and information about it. Parts callouts. That's a lot of X's. Like I said, this is the one I just mentioned with the shield plate on it. All of those don't get used. The bazooka came on. All of that stuff doesn't get used. All of that stuff doesn't get used. All of that stuff doesn't get used. That's a lot of X's. They've really... there's a lot of spare parts on this thing. I'm actually kind of shocked. Standard construction starts with the torso, and then head and arms and center. Now they're down to just a single photo of the completed model in an action scene, which, bummer, but whatever. Your paint callouts, what colors you'll need, then just kind of a layout of the different weapons and accessories and some posability stuff. After the arms, then it moves on to the lower body. That's kind of a change up in the assembly order from previous. It moves on to the abdomen and then does the legs, which is interesting. And then finally, final assembly, and then assembly of the weapons, and final assembly, attachment to an action base, and then your marking guide. And then, hey, they brought back the splash page on the back, so that's nice. Did I ever mention how silly the tactical arms were on the Astray? Well, they are, but I think this one might have it rivaled. This thing has got some really goofy weapons. In addition to the big beam rifle, like the double-barreled beam pistol is just, I don't know, that thing is just kind of too silly and awesome for words. But I really dig this thing. I really like it. I like the unique backpack and the unique armor and the forearm-mounted beam saber and like the flip-down visor. That was what sold me on the previous, the Gym Sniper 2 that came out last year, which I still need to finish mine. Jesus, like that thing has been left untouched for like, oh god, when the hell did I do that? I did that I don't think I ever did a video on that, did I? I'm pretty sure I didn't. I really need to do that. That was one of my favorite projects for a long time. It was my first painted Gundam in a very long time. I need to find it. I don't even know where the hell I put it. But yeah, I'm very excited to build this thing because it's silly, and I love silly. You know, unless it's the Astray tactical arms, which are even too silly for me. But yeah. This one and the Wing and the Death Scythe and the Astray are going to come up with me on my next rotation. I'll assemble them all up there and report back when I get home on the silliness factor of the Astray. And do keep an eye on my Facebook or my Twitter and my Instagram for build-up photos and the occasional photo story as progress carries on with them. Tomorrow we're going to take a look at, I guess you could call it the black sheep of the Master Grade line, Bandai and their love of abandoning Gundam Wing. The Wing Gundam herself. We're going to take a look at that, and I can't wait. So thank you everyone out there for watching. Happy modeling.